Hello again. This is section 2 of The Art of Ritual, and I'm going to talk a little bit now about the context of the elements and the structure and framework of the elements in ritual practice. So we're talking about the classical elements here of air, fire, water, and earth, and spirit, so 5. And you will hear differences from one tradition to another. So I am going to present them to you as they make sense to me and as I use them in my ritual framework. So basically, and this is Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere is going to be different. Again, your context is what matters the most. And things that don't make sense to you that I'm saying, think about them. What's really important is that you spend time thinking about these things, because what you eventually want to do is take the elements, which are symbols, and you want to internalize these things. So ritual is also a process of internalizing. We work with symbols outside and we internalize these symbols so that our unconscious mind has a vocabulary with which to speak to our conscious mind, and vice versa. So the elemental framework that I work with will start in the East, which is where I started my training. I started in the East. Some traditions will start in the North. I go back and forth. Again, no dogma. No dogma, no superstition. So I start in the East with the air. Air represents your intellect. And then we move to the South, which is fire. That represents your creativity, which is your consciousness and your will. We move to the West with water, representing your emotional self. And the North is earth, which represents your physical body. Spirit, of course, is in the center of them all. I will do separate videos that go into great detail about the elements and the tools of the elements and whatnot, but for right now, let's just keep it really basic and simple so the videos aren't too long to upload. So when you look at the wheel, and it is a wheel, so imagine the wheel and where you start in the East and what you move through. And to move through the elements very quickly, to just sort of the progression, you start with air, which is the least dense of the elements. Okay, it has no substance to it that we can see at any rate. And it represents your intellect. And if you think about the element of air and correlate it with thought, you can't see your thoughts. They sort of come and go. They move through your mind. They can move you like the wind moves a tree. You can't see the wind, but you see the tree moving. You can't see the thoughts, but you can see where those thoughts move you. So air represents that very immaterial part of you that is the intellect. And everything starts with a thought. Edgar Cayce said the mind is the builder. Anything that you start has to start with a concept and a thought and an inspiration. So all of those things are under the realm of air. So when you conceive of something, or all of a sudden there's a project you want to do, there's that first, I have an idea, I want to do this. So that's why a lot of traditions start in the East, because things start with the inspiration and the thought and the concept. From there, you move into the South, and that's where you bring in your creativity, the element of fire, your will, and your vision. All of those things are under the realm of fire. So think about fire in terms of light. So all of a sudden the fire opens up and it lights the landscape, and you can kind of start seeing your way forward through this. There's also the fire of passion. So you get an idea, and pretty hot on its heels, to continue the metaphor here, is the will and the passion and the drive to do it. You get that idea and it's like, God, I can't wait to get going. That's fire. Fire is the motivation and the drive. Beyond that, it's also the discipline to keep moving. So you have to kind of stoke the fire and keep it burning. And it's creativity. So you bring in innovation and just your creativity to the process. Fire is the element that separates us from the rest of the animals. Humans are the only ones that use fire and make fire. So, and our will and our creativity separates us as well. We have the ability to think outside of instinct and to create and forge new ways. We have the ability to go absolutely against instinct, and that's the fire element. So fire is what separates us from the animals and also gives us our creative ability and our free will. From there we move into the realm of water. When you start a project, when you get the fire going and you start the project and actually begin, what comes after that is the emotional investment, which is something that can carry you through when the fire kind of starts petering out. What you're after now is the emotional fulfillment of completion of that project. And as you start to work on something, you do get the emotional payback. You get satisfaction. You get joy from seeing something happen. You get a calming of the emotions from actually being at work on something. So we go into the water element, and again, that's where we find commitment. There's commitment in the realm of fire too, but that's more like the initiative and the passion. And then you move into the emotional realm is where we say, this is what I want to accomplish, this I want to feel, that feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. And then when we move to the earth element, that is the actual physical manifestation of the completion of a project. So whatever you do, whatever you can conceive of, whatever that inspiration hits and that idea that you have to bring it down through the elements. And from air to fire, which is still kind of less dense, but there is substance to fire, you can see it. And then we go to water, which is more dense, but it moves. And then we go to the most dense of all, which is earth. So we're taking something from the immaterial realm and drawing it down through the densities of elements until we get to the most dense, which is earth, and which represents the physical manifestation of something. So anything we can conceive of, we have to bring it through our body in some way. We have to bring it through our will. We have to bring it through our emotions, and we have to bring it through our body. If you want to write a book, you have to physically write it somehow. All right? You have to speak it, you have to write it, it's got to come through your body somehow. Painting, sculpture, any of the visual art forms, they have to come through your body in order to be manifest. Music as well has to come through your body, whether it's making music with your body on an instrument, whether it's using your voice, it has to come through your body. Anything that you create. That's what manifest means. It means to take that idea and ultimately have it clothed in earth in some way, so that it becomes manifest physical reality. Okay, and you might say, oh, something like music isn't really physically manifest, but it is. Your ears pick it up. If it's perceptible to the senses, then it is physically manifest. So this is the wheel that I work with my elements, and then of course there is spirit, which connects and infuses all. That is the realm from which all ideas come. That's where the muse lives, okay? And whatever deity you work with, if you work with deity at all, you may not. And we'll get into that in much more detail in another video. But that's it for now with the basic elemental framework. See you next time. Blessed be.